if I could, Reverend Paul, this has to be approved by the General Synod. I think it's a rather interesting position, isn't it? Because the Church of England is now saying they will enable a blessing for a couple in a civil partnership, but it really doesn't approve of civil partnerships, really, unless, of course, the couple in the civil partnership are celibate. And I'm not sure how you're ever going to know that.
Well, Andrew, it's actually quite complicated. In fact, what the bishops are now doing is offering something which doesn't have to be approved in synod, and I'm not sure yet exactly how it's going to be presented. And certainly one or two of the bishops have said quite publicly, we're going to be commending these prayers, synod's going to be asked about them, but we're going to use them come what may. So I think part of the complication here is that the bishops have decided that they're actually going to bypass synod in the decision-making process. I think a bigger complication when you actually read the document is that it's entirely incoherent and contradictory. I mean, as you've suggested, that on the one hand, there's a statement saying we can now bless these relationships. On the other hand, the bishops have said that the doctrine of the church is not changing. Well, the doctrine of the church at the moment is that the only place for sexual intimacy is in marriage between one man and one woman. So it's quite difficult to understand how those two comments in the same document actually make any sense together.
And of course, and it's also not going to be compulsory, I understand, on vicars. If a vicar doesn't want to do a blessing, if they don't agree with it, they don't have to.
But the difficulty with that is it seems to make believing in the doctrine of the church optional for clergy, which is quite an unusual approach. So, I mean, you know, when you're ordained, you take vows. You take vows that you will uphold the teaching of the church, that you will to pass it on to others. You'll pass on the faith entire, that you will fashion your own life according to the doctrine and teaching of the church as we've received it, as part of the Church Catholic, rooted and grounded in Scripture. The Church of England says that quite explicitly. So how the bishops can now propose that it's a choice as to whether or not you believe the teaching of the church as clergy, it just seems to me to be very strange, a very strange approach.